Hey everybody, day 12. Guess how many more days that leaves to go? 13. So, what we have before you are matte molds. I didn't realize they were matte molds when I bought them, but I have ways around that. Anyway, matte molds are for candle making, um, resin-crete, and those kinds of mediums. And so, I have casting powders. I have both the 10-3 and the 3-1. So, I'm going to use the 3-1 today. I'm not sure how much each of these molds hold. It can't be all that much, though. However, that tulip mold that I had for the leftover resin, epoxy, I'm going to go ahead and utilize it. No, I have not cleaned it off. I am not worried about that. And it's going to be all one color. Because when I fill something with resin-crete or anything like that, I usually try very, very hard to keep it just one color. I do. However, that being said, this is from, I believe, October, very beginning of October, and it's got to be finished off. It's an orb. I am not too sure how that's going to work out with as long as it's been since it was worked on. However, I will use the leftovers first within this. And then, as you see, I have what says owl on it. This is one that I started at the very beginning of the year. And, well, I'm going to use it for even more of the leftovers if I make too much. And I'm going to finish this off. And so therefore it is actually going to be a lot of different colors. Because I'm going to work with the casting powders for a little bit here. These will be allowed 4 hours to cure on the mat after they're unmolded. That way it helps dry them out faster. And then I can get to painting them and get them up tomorrow morning. For tomorrow morning, I should say. And so I'll be working actually all night for this. And hopefully have them all painted by that time. Enough time to edit and upload. So with that being said, I'm going to pause you. I'm going to get my casting powder measured out. And I'll be back. Okay, I've got everything measured up. So for a moment, I'm going to set these aside so that I can bring the powders and stuff to me. Get it in my proper hand. Unfortunately, I can't use a mixer with this, but I have my trusty whisk. And for scraping, I have my little scraper. So, without further ado, pour in. And now don't do a little at a time, unless you're more comfortable doing that. Myself, I like to get as much water in as possible, start it in, get those powders wet. That way they're not flying in the air. And yes, when I measure this stuff out, I wear my mask. I have enough troubles with my lungs. I don't need to coat them with a powder that dries to cement hardness. Okay. Now, the last time I used the 3-1, I did the wrong mathing skills. Huh. So, this time it's a little bit better. It's not as thick. It's going to be more liquidy. Make sure you scrape that bottom and the sides. Bring this up, tap it out. Keep scraping. Get the sides. And now you're going to incorporate a lot of bubbles. Okay, that looks pretty good. I like good. Good is good. All right, I just had a blue cup here, 8-ouncer. Boy, I can lose things in a heartbeat. No, it was a blue 5-ounce cup. Either way, tap off as much as you can and set your stirring utensil aside. Get that off there. Get these up here. And so we begin. And I'm going to pour from the top down. Try to get those areas that are hard to get to first. That way they will fill in there a little bit better. And then stop right about there. Do the same thing with the other. Crud, I knew I was going to do that. I really did. All right, I'll set this aside. And then the famous Steve McDonald Tappy Wappies. Little dropsies. And continue to fill. And these molds are not always level, so you do have to keep an eye on where you're pouring and how much. And you may even have to sand your product down when you're done. Well, I didn't think I was going to get away with 400. It should have been probably 450, 500 tops. Okay, of course I did spill some over the edge, and we're just going to scrape this off into there. Okay. Okay, that's a nasty in there. Let's get that gone. Now I'll work as fast as I can, try to get some more powder measured out. Excuse the frog. So I'm going to put 100 grams in here of powder. Tear it out. Get it level first so it'll tear properly. There we go. So there we go. And because it's 100, then I need 34 grams of water. Tear that out. Get my water. Well, 35 will do. Doesn't matter if it's slightly more watery. It just takes longer for it to cure up. Got all my water down in there. Get my little whisk. I love this little whisk. I really do. I have a larger one, but I like using this little one. More control, I think. Sure we get that bottom scraped off. Grab this and scrape, because the last time I noticed the sediment at the bottom. Okay, so let's go with this. Once this is poured, I will set this to cure. And then I'll be back. Okay, that's done. It doesn't look like this one needs any more. So into the little one it goes. Now I had my husband take his drill and rough this up on the inside. And I did that so that it would adhere, since it's been so long since I actually started making that one. Now that was a shiny mold, I'm going to say that, it was. But when you use these casting powders, it etches into your shiny molds. It etches into all the molds because it is really, it's actually a caustic powder. So it will continue to sort of eat at your things. Let's get that scraped off a little bit better. Okay. I see that getting ready to go over right there, and that's what I'm talking about. These molds themselves are not exactly level. So you have to be very watchful of that. And then you just have to try to find something that's going to be able to go under there to hold it back. Unless you want to like sit forever holding on to it. Okay, I think that's the proper height. Okay, back soon. Alrighty, we have, this has been curing for the last hour. It's no longer warm. So they're a little, this one here is cooler than this one here, but this one here was deeper. So we're going to move this aside for a moment. Break this off of there, out of the way. And yes, I do keep these to throw into other molds. That way you use less of the powders each time. And in case you didn't know, you can powder those back down and therefore use it just like the rest of the powders you had. You just got to remember if it was the 10-3 or the 3-1. All right, let's get this guy out. We're just going to turn him over. And remember, I'm going to put this on a heat mat for 4 hours to dry them out. And they'll be raised above the heat mat, so it has all that circulation. Okay. Well, he turned out pretty good. No bubbles. Okay, he's holding a bow in his hand. There's tree and branches over here. He's got a star on his scarf there and there, so stars on the scarf. Cute little houses, so he's a huge one. And then some really small trees, so that's like the giant snowman. Okay, there's a little bit here to get away. And yes, I will be painting them afterwards, after they're fully dry. Now, sometimes I seal them first, sometimes I don't. Because sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Okay. I know, I've lost it. But that's all right. I'm allowed. Okay, let's get this guy out. And yes, they are, I believe, both are snowmen. Just different style of pose. Get my fingers under there for some support. I do like to have them the right side up so I can see what I'm dealing with as far as getting these out. So this part here is the deepest and shallow or smallest area, so it's going to be the more difficult to pull out of there. And then this one has got the shape of the moon holding it in. Try not to break off anything important. Okay, I got that middle piece out. And haha. Well, that's an even bigger snowman. Got a heart here. It's got stripes on his scarf. Get it down so you can see the whole thing. So he turned out pretty cool. Now comes the drying process and getting them fully cured so that I can varnish them real fast. And I'll show you how I varnish, okay? And what I varnish with. And then after that, I'll pause you for about an hour and let that varnish dry and cure. Right now, he's still really damp. They're both slightly damp, so yeah, it's going to take that 4-hour dry time. All right, back soon. All right, these have actually cured for several hours, so they are completely dry. I'm going to remove this off of here. This is a specialized tinting situation that I did so that they had the ability to get heat trapped, but also release the moisture. That's always important. You have to release the moisture. Okay, so these guys are ready to be painted. So what I did, of course, as you saw, was put them up on cups. Now they have to be varnished, sealed, so that the paint doesn't absorb in. So that's what I'm doing right now. I do want to keep them separated some because I am a clumsy person, especially these days. And you don't want brush marks. I use a sponge brush, and this here is Varathane varnish. It is the 3 times thickness, and apparently had a cat hair on it, or dog hair. Anyway, and so you don't want to use this. I tightened that. Why did I tighten it so hard? I don't know. You don't want to use this straight in all actuality. It's got some clumping. I've had it for years. It's got some clumping, so you do need to put a little bit of water with it. So I'm going to do this. I need a cup that'll be about that size for the brush to fit comfortably. And so I have a 5-ounce paper cup. I'm going to pour a little bit into here. And of course, make sure you wipe off any residue from the rim, because if you don't, you're going to seal your lid on there pretty tight. I do have a cup of water already ready. Already ready, Freddy. Anyway, so yes, please wipe that off or seal your doom. Haha. Make sure your lid is tight so it doesn't dry out. And then we're going to add a little bit of water. Just like that. And now we're going to stir it around, and I'm just going to use an ordinary paintbrush end to do that. Make sure you get it as thoroughly mixed as you can. So primarily it's about half and half if your varnish is old. And mine is old. Prep work is always boring, but it's worth it when it's done. And then, of course, wipe that varnish off your brush. Unless, of course, you like working with varnished brushes. Huh? Okay. And I've left these up here because this way the varnish just flows off better. So, dip your little sponge brush in there. Now you can use just a kitchen dish sponge and cut it up, but I prefer something with a handle. Less sticky that way. And you just get it brushed on quickly. And anything that runs off, runs off. Let it do that. And because your item is already dry, it's going to want to take a lot of that varnish with it. And let it run. Now people believe, for some reason, that if you use a sponge, you don't get brush strokes. No, but you do get stroke marks. So always just understand you're going to have some sort of mark on it, unless you just dip it in and let it run off. And then you cannot control anything. Now, for some reason, this brush has got a lot of little fur hairs in it. Must be because it's an old brush and I've used it before. And for me, I like to let it run on surfaces like this. That way you get a much more even coating. Now I'm going to have to pick him up so I can see what I'm doing a slight bit better. See where the shine is, where it's not. Let it do the run. Now if you want it to run off into something, you can do it right over that item. Say like I got to do this one over here. You just pick it up, put it over that one. Anything that runs off will run off onto the other. Make sure you get all the cracks and crevices. Push that down in there. That will create bubbles, so make sure you go back over it. All right, he's just close to full coat. Ugh. Turn it a little bit here. Yes, I'm putting my fingers into the varnish. Now, it doesn't matter if you varnish the back. Nobody sees the back. However, if you're going to put it on a wall with, say, a hanger, you want that part varnished too. That way, you're not creating chalk marks on your walls. Okay, he's real close to being done. Now, in tighter areas, you can use a smaller brush. But I just like trying to get it with just the one brush. So, my sponge brush. And of course, always push it down on there. Get your edge, make sure your edge is sealed. Okay, my hand's getting tired of holding that. Okay. Now I'm only going to show you with this one how to do this. Or good, this is my way of doing it anyway. You can do it whatever way you want to do it. Whatever you're comfortable with. Whoa. You just have to be very careful, and it's better to have it on a flatter level surface so that you don't have that little accidental tilt and tip. So I'm going to switch its weight along that line better. Okay, got a little run going here. I'll finish the other portion underneath as soon as I have a touchable area. Okay, this one is nearly completed, so I'm going to go ahead, put you on pause, finish varnishing, let them dry, and I'll be back when it comes time to begin the paint job. And yes, I am trying to remove fur a little bit here. Okay, I'm going to let y'all go. I'll be back soon. All right, these are done with the varnish. The only thing I couldn't do is get in here all of the way. And I probably could have if I'd used a better, a small brush instead. But I think I got it pretty much all the way. And all it needed was to be able to keep the paint from sticking or absorbing. Wow, we can tell it's my nap time. Okay, so I put the varnish brush away. And now I need another foam brush because I'm going to do a large scale painting, as in, let me show you what I'm going to be doing. I have a little cup here. I have in this right here black acrylic paint. I buy it in a large jug. It's just pretty much craft paint, and it lasts forever. So I'm going to take some of this. This, by the way, is a very heavily pigmented craft paint. Very heavy. So what I'm going to do is grab myself a stir stick, such as this. I'm going to take a 1 scoop. 2 scoop. 3 scoop. See if that's enough. Oh, that's close to it for sure. Let's see if I can get this off the stick there. Another scoop like that. The brand of this acrylic paint is called Sax, S-A-X, and it's inexpensive for I got a half-gallon size for $20. But, you know, that was a couple years ago at least, so the next thing I need is, ooh, I make my own liquid for fluid art, my own mixture additive to extend the paint and thin it out. This hasn't been used in a while either. That's why I'm shaking it as well as I am. Once I got into doing resin, that was more my primary focus. So this is my pouring medium that I haven't used in a year and a half-ish. However, it is still good because I keep it in these bottles. And then you're just going to take some of that and you're going to squirt it down in there. I really don't need a whole lot of paint, but I adjust as I need it. If I end up with extra mixed paint, I will put it in a small jar and keep it for later. And now that I've got that in there, all I've got to do is stir it up really well. Now this mixture does tend to dull down the paint, but I'm not worried about that problem right now because I'm not looking for a glossy finish in all actuality. I use a spray-on varnish for that, or not, yeah. And it's going to be either matte, satin, or gloss. Usually for items like this, it goes satin. Oh, I need to pause. My husband is here with lunch. So, now that I have this mixed up, you saw what I do. I'm going to put this aside for a few minutes. Now, it will have a tendency to dry out. It's in a paper cup, and paper absorbs moisture. So, what you want to do is keep the air itself from absorbing that moisture. And what you do for that is you take this cup, this little smaller cup, and put it right there. And I'm going to put you on pause, and I'll be back in a minute or two. Okay, I'm back. And this is not as thinned out as I need it, so we're just going to add some more here. So I will probably have leftover, but that's all right. Eventually I'll use it. All right, let's get it mixed up. Let's try to find something a little bit fatter, like that stick again. That's a little bit better. Okay, let's get that wiped off. Okay, just gonna take this brush, dip it down in, and yes, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but this needs to drip off there. I need to move my palette real quick because I don't want to knock the paint over. And this is what I'm doing. You do want it kind of thick on there so that the white's not showing through. And if it does, what you do is you just go back over with a second coat. Sometimes even a third. Just however deep you want the color. And yes, it's going black. Get all the cracks and crevices that you can this way. And if you can't get to some of them, make sure you just grab a smaller paintbrush and get in there. Try to get it as smooth as you can. Now, if I'd left it a little bit thicker, I wouldn't probably have to do another coat, but I will. But I need it to spread too, so you got to take the good with the bad with the good. And you do want it as smooth as you can get, because the next steps after the black is all the way on here and dry is going to be even more fun and confusing for you. I mean, why would you use black on a Christmas item? Oh, I knew I would do something like that. I broke his wheel arm. But, you know what? That's fixable. And I'll do it before I do anything else after the black paint is on and dried. So, just so you know, don't put too much pressure on this little area, because apparently it is a little bit more fragile than it should be. Interesting. I'll have to use a paintbrush in that area to finish it. Just try to squish it down in there, and it's just not getting down in there. My hand's getting tired from holding this, so I do have to set it down for a moment. Now what I'm doing is probably going to be a mistake anyway, and so you'll probably see a good lesson learned situation. But that's what I'm here for, to screw up so you don't. What's that old saying? Do as I say, not as I do. Almost with this one, and then I'll put you on pause again and get the other one all black. You do not want globs of paint though, because you don't want that showing in your finished product. So always look in your little nooks and crannies and get that wiped out of there. Okay, I'm going to try to get this inner portion. Without dropping it to the ground here. There we go. Now we're getting it. Get that brushed out of there. Excuse my wheezing. All right, this guy's done. And I'll put another coat on him and get this one done 2 coats, or maybe 3, depends on what I'm going to need. And then I'll be back. All right, I fixed his arm, glued it back on. I had to finish painting that area because of the damage in the chips, missing and all, but it can finish drying while I'm working on the other one. And so, of course, I don't make everybody sit through the tedious parts because, you know, not everybody watches it, the video in its entirety anyway. So I do speed up that part. But I will show you what I'm doing next. And, well, hold on a second. I'm trying to get something out of my way here. Okay. So what I'm going to do next. Now the moon is white. We all know moons are white, but they also have certain shades of dark. Not they, our moon. Oh my gosh. Marcy should shut up. I do not want to work on the moon first for one reason. If I work on the moon first, then it's going to be brighter than the details here, and the details will fade away from me. So I'm going to work on the details first. And what I'm going to do is position him so I can see him a lot better and try not to hit the other one off. I hope you can see where I'm at with that. All right, now, his hat's got like little striping on it, and it's fuzzy. And then he's got the scarf. He's got a shirt on. Looks like mittens as well. And pants and shoes. Strange snowman, but I'll work with it. So I have to make him kind of colorful so he stands out. Well, I've got these little pots here. And this is the reason why I used black to coat him. The whole thing. Because I have these Amsterdam, they're basics basically, they're standard series, so they're like a student grade, and these are specialty ones. These are the ghost paints. They look white, but after they dry, they have a different color to them. And this one here is green, and it's not going to be a, you know, like a holiday vibrant green. It will be different than that. So I'm going to put a little bit in this pot here, and I better grab a pen and label it as green. So, yeah. Let me do that real fast, and maybe it's more helpful if I use a green marker as well. So we're just going to put a G. Well, I can't see that. Okay, so we're not going to use that. Okay, then, let's go ahead and use black. So we're going to put a G here for green. I also have red, blue, gold, purple, and pearl white. Yes, these are pearl colors. And I better close this pen before I lose it. However, I do have to mark the other pots I'll be using. So, let's see, it's 5 more to go. Okay, let's go ahead and put the P for purple. This is what I was worried about. See, this pen dries out quickly because it's old. P for purple. And the reason why you do that is so that you can keep track of what your colors are. Whoa, 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 that was so scary. I had to pick something again. B for blue, of course. Oh, come on, pen. You weren't being unused that long. Okay, that's B. R for red. W for white. And I believe it's not really gold, but I believe it's yellow. Yes, yellow. Pale yellow. So, yellow is what it is, so it gets a Y. I may have had it open too long. I'm trying to find more of these mini pens because I really like them. And as long as I've had them, I don't want to toss it out. All right. So now I'm going to do some green into the green, of course. And I'm going to start with the green so I can show you what is going to happen with it. I don't need much out at all. Although I do want to try to do each one of these a dual coat. I really do. So let's get a very small brush here. That one may be too small. But I'm going to work with it because, well, I make mistakes a lot anyway. So we're going to do red and green for his hat. And you want to lay it on kind of thick. Now, because it's going over the black right now, you're going to start seeing that green show up. And yes, that's why I want a dual coat, so that it shows up even better. Oops, sorry, my elbow slipped. But that's also why I don't want too much out, because I have to do this over and over. Well, I'm going to go with, this was actually the perfect brush for this. Just make sure you squish it down into those crevices. Turn it so you can see it. And for my eyes, as bad as they are, the more I start adding color to this, the more my eyes will start doing this weird skipping thing, trying to catch up with what I'm seeing. I'm actually trying to dual coat it right now. But can you see that green showing up in there? Okay, now I got to try to turn this where I can actually see the rest of his hat, which is kind of difficult. And as far as the eyes, I'm going to try to leave them black, because after all, with two button eyes or buttons and eyes made out of coal anyway. Oh, I missed some right there on the black. Hopefully it won't affect it too badly. Trying to get into that dark area where I cannot get the shadow off of it, and that's becoming a task. Oh, crud. And then I get it on the other part. And I did it again. Let's see if I can get it wiped off. And then I go and put the paintbrush right back onto it. It likes that spot, I'm telling you. So I'm just going to go with it, I guess. And we will just line the top of that hat with that too. Or that banding anyway. Now I don't know if you want to watch the painting process or not. And of course if you do, I'll kind of speed it up because it is lengthy. It takes me a long time to see what I'm doing. As you can tell, here I go wiping it off of the other part of the hat again. Then I wiped it off of an area that it was meant to come off of. Now you still don't want it too thick on here as far as this paint goes, because then the darkness of the black starts disappearing and then the effect is a lot less. You can tell when I start concentrating, I go quiet, and I'm sorry about that. Okay, I'm satisfied with that now. And there's his first banding done. All right. I'm going to go ahead and just paint these off camera, and then I'll come back and show you what they look like. Back soon, everybody. All right, everybody. I'm at the point where this is done because I can't really see detail anymore, and my depth perception has gone completely. I can't tell where I'm at with the paintbrush. I can't. I go to reach for something, I'm knocking it over. So 25 Days of Christmas turned into 12, and I will only be able to craft as I can. But I think I'm done until after I can have eye surgery and at least get the right eye back. The left eye keeps fading in and out. And so let's present to you the last craft until at such time I can have the surgery. This is the one that I started losing sight on. And I think he turned out okay. I just really can't tell. So my husband will be reading comments for me, and he will be doing the replying in my words. My words. He's going to copy everything I say. And I just want to hope that all of you have a very beautiful and Merry Christmas. This is the other one. This is where everything really went to crap on my eyes. And I have periods where I can see a little bit better, and then it just goes away. I don't know if there's anything you can tell on this, but the trees have a green overcoat, and well, below the houses have a red overcoat, and the tree branch, or the tree on this side, has a red overcoat. But you'll probably be able to see that I have overshot so many times, and I just, well, that's it for me, guys. I tried, I gave it a good shot. So now I just have to wait and see what happens, hopefully in the near future. So I love you all, and you know the drill, all that stuff, but peace out. And now, since I can't see exactly where that button is, I'm going to have him go ahead and hit the stop. Love to all. Merry Christmas.